Some sci-fi shows burn bright, dominate pop culture, and leave an undeniable legacy. Others quietly carve out a cult following, only to be forgotten by the mainstream over time. In 1993, a detective from the 22nd century stepped onto primetime TV, offering a blend of futuristic tech, cunning fugitives, and a mission to protect history. Yet it quietly disappeared after 2 seasons. What went wrong? What led to its abrupt cancellation? Let's find out. This is the history of Time Trax.
A special breed of man. A hunter. Traveling through our world.
It's the early 90s. Science fiction on television was evolving rapidly, with audiences demanding more sophisticated narratives and better production values. Shows like Star Trek: The Next Generation and Quantum Leap had proven that sci-fi can thrive on the small screen, leading networks to seek the next breakout hit. At that time, veteran Hollywood producers Harve Bennett, Jeffrey M. Hayes, and Grant Rosenberg envision a high-concept adventure series that blends detective procedural elements with time travel intrigue. Bennett, best known for revitalizing the Star Trek film franchise, brought credibility to the project, while Hayes and Rosenberg provided experience in crafting compelling television narratives. The original idea came from Rosenberg, who saw potential in a time travel police show, and together they refined it into what would become Time Trax. The show's premise was built on a gripping concept. In the year 2193, many criminals escaped justice by traveling 2 centuries into the past using a time machine called Trax, created by the nefarious Dr. Mordecai Sambi. To make the jump, the fugitives relied on TXP, a dangerous drug that stabilizes their molecular structure for time travel, but it's lethal after just 2 doses. In response to the crisis, Captain Darian Lambert, played by Dale Midkiff, is sent back to 1993 with a mission: track down the fugitives and return them to the future. His most valuable ally is Selma, played by Elizabeth Alexander, an AI supercomputer disguised as an ordinary credit card. Selma serves multiple functions, providing Lambert with real-time data, hacking into 20th century computer systems, and communicating through a voice or holographic interface. Alongside Selma, Lambert was equipped with the Micro Pellet Projection Tube MPPT, a stun gun disguised as a car alarm remote that can incapacitate criminals or activate the Trax retrieval sequence, sending fugitives back to the future.
The world will need a new kind of hero to face a new kind of enemy.
You have been sending fugitives back in time?
For a new kind of adventure.
They went back to take over.
Unlike many time travel narratives that explored historical settings, Time Trax was structured as a modern-day sci-fi detective show, with Lambert tracking down a new criminal in each episode. The series leans into the idea that fugitives, once in the past, used their knowledge of future events to manipulate history for personal gain. Some became wealthy crime lords, others infiltrated powerful institutions, and a few attempted to alter technological progress decades ahead of its time. This episodic structure allowed for a wide variety of cases while maintaining an overarching storyline. Characterization also played a role in reinforcing the show's internal logic. Lambert was depicted as highly intelligent, with enhanced physical and mental capabilities due to 22nd century advancements. His superior reflexes, known as time stalling, allowed him to perceive movement at an accelerated rate, giving him an edge in combat situations. However, the writers had to balance these abilities to keep the stakes high. If Lambert was too powerful, the show risked losing dramatic tension, so certain episodes put him at a disadvantage, either through environmental constraints or by placing him in situations where brute force wouldn't solve the problem. Additionally, Time Trax needed to maintain audience engagement without losing them in overly complex time travel logic. Unlike serialized shows like Babylon 5, Time Trax largely followed an episodic format, making each episode self-contained while subtly advancing the larger narrative. This structure meant that while time travel elements were crucial, they couldn't overshadow the detective procedural aspects that formed the foundation of the series.
An astute convict tangles with a cop.
I'll shoot you down, and you keep on coming.
From the future.
Your history. How can I be history?
The series was shot in Queensland, near the Warner Roadshow Studios, an emerging hub for international productions at the time. The decision to film outside of the United States was primarily driven by cost effectiveness, as Australia offered competitive tax incentives, lower labor costs, and access to high-quality studio facilities. The move to Australia allowed for more ambitious set designs and outdoor shoots, giving Time Trax a more polished look than many other syndicated sci-fi shows of the era. Music also played a vital role in shaping the show's atmosphere. Composers Gary McDonald and Laurie Stone crafted a distinctive score, reinforcing both the action-adventure and sci-fi aspects of the series. The theme, with its dramatic, futuristic tone, became a recognizable hallmark of the show. However, despite these advantages, other factors beyond production quality would determine the show's fate as it entered its first season on air. With all the pieces in place, Time Trax made its television debut on January 20th, 93. As part of the Primetime Entertainment Network, it was launched alongside Kung Fu: The Legend Continues and Babylon 5, with PTEN hoping to create a niche for action-adventure and science fiction programming. Initial reactions to the show were generally positive. Viewers enjoyed the mix of time travel mechanics, and Dale Midkiff's portrayal of Darian Lambert was met with praise for balancing intelligence, action, and charm. Some reviewers felt that while the premise was interesting, the execution often leaned too heavily on procedural crime-solving tropes rather than exploring deeper sci-fi elements. There were complaints that episodes followed a formulaic structure, with Lambert tracking a fugitive each week without enough variation in the stakes or conflict. However, as the first season continued, warning signs began to emerge. Ratings, while stable, were not growing at the pace PTEN had hoped for. While Time Trax had all the elements of a great sci-fi adventure, it was becoming clear that its place in the crowded TV landscape was not as secure as the creators had hoped. As Time Trax entered its second season, the production team attempted to address audience concerns. They introduced more emotionally charged episodes, deeper connections between fugitives, and higher stakes confrontations. The final blow came when PTEN executives decided to move in a different direction, focusing on projects with higher growth potential. The decision was made. Time Trax would not continue past its second season. Unlike some long-running shows that receive a proper send-off, Time Trax simply faded away. The last episode aired on December 3rd, 1994, leaving several plot threads unresolved. There was no grand farewell, just a quiet disappearance from television schedules. Much like the fugitives, Lambert spent 2 seasons hunting.
Now he is among us. A special breed of man. He has one weapon and a computer named Selma.
Good morning, Captain Lambert.
In 1994, Malibu Interactive developed a Time Trax action platformer for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, attempting to bring the show's time-traveling detective thrills to gaming audiences. Despite its solid reception, the Time Trax game, much like the show itself, faded into obscurity, leaving behind a cult curiosity for retro gaming and action sci-fi TV enthusiasts alike. Time Trax's first season was released on DVD on October 9th, 2012. The second and final season was released the following year on July 9th, 2013. But despite its shortcomings, Time Trax remains a fascinating piece of sci-fi history. It took risks, introduced memorable characters, and built a world that, while flawed, had immense potential. For those willing to look beyond its limitations, it stands as a unique example of early 90s television experimenting with high-concept sci-fi storytelling. So is Time Trax worth rediscovering? Absolutely. It may not have been a game changer, but it's a reminder of an era when action sci-fi television was experimenting, pushing boundaries, and trying to find the next big thing. For fans of 90s action adventure with a sci-fi twist, it's a lost gem, one that deserves a second look. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content.